This is the first episode of the Long Island Testify Podcast, the faith-based podcast designed to inspire, encourage, and strengthen you in your faith journey. Wherever you are now in your believing, walking through trials, or standing firm in God's promises, this is a place where testimonies come to life. Here we share real stories of transformation, hope, and unwavering faith, because your testimony has power. Before we begin, a word from our sponsor.
Now, I was still trying to get over the fact that somebody is telling me in the 21st century that human beings are being trafficked across the world and then sold for sex. And it is easy to ignore suffering on the earth and not get involved and feel hopeless. When something is nameless and faceless, when it's just a number. But all of a sudden, you put a name and you put a face to that number and everything changes. From these huge nameless, faceless numbers to an individual person.
Hey there, welcome back to the podcast. Today we have an incredible guest, Dr. Thomas, a passionate leader, teacher, and evangelist. He serves as the pastor and ministering evangelist of The Way Community Church, our church plant in Long Island, New York, with a mission to make Jesus famous by caring for people like Jesus, connecting people to Jesus, and commissioning people for Jesus. Dr. Thomas has dedicated his life to discipleship, equipping others to live out the gospel with a strong academic background, including a PhD in theology and Christian apologetics. He's a published author, credentialed counselor, and certified life coach. His ministry spans from Los Angeles to New York, always striving to empower, serve, and advocate for those in need. His prayer, you may ask: God, use me up doing good, and when you're done, bring me home. Awesome. Welcome to the podcast today, my friend.
Thank you. Glad to have me. Glad that you had me. And certainly excited about being here and excited about the purpose of this podcast, especially being in the first one. I don't think I realized that till right this moment, but that's awesome. That's awesome.
That's okay. I'm glad you're here. I'm so excited for you to be here.
Amen. Likewise. And I'm really thankful too about just the impact, the purpose behind it is really dope. Being able to just offer encouragement and inspiration for people in need.
Awesome, man. I can't wait. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? Can you share your faith journey and how did you come to know Christ?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that if I were to just articulate the trajectory of my faith, it would probably resonate most with the fact that my mother was an amazing woman of God, and she's got roots of faith, and that's kind of like the foundation. That would be the fact that I grew up always hearing about, always in worship, things of that nature, from an instructional inception standpoint. But then in my own personal life, I've gone through enough to make me know not just cognitively that God is a thing, but to know that nobody but God could have done what he's done has been impactful for me.
Yeah.
And that's, from God bringing me out of some addictive behavior, to sparing my life from stupidity, to giving me a second and third and fourth chance over and again. That's kind of been my journey. And I think that if people can know the God that I know, you'd never want to do life without him.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, that's kind of the trajectory. Yeah.
Yeah. Was there like a specific moment that kind of like changed everything for you? Like you're like an aha moment?
Probably several. Yeah, it's probably several. I will say this. I know when I was in high school, I've always been curious about religion and curious about people's walk with God and their faith and things like that. But I did have a couple of moments where, especially early on in seminary, I was encouraged as a young man. Oh, you should be, a preacher. You're passionate about God. You like helping and things like that. But there was this one guy who was like, man, you have way too many questions, way too many questions, and this can't be answered in a just a simple Bible study. You got to go and learn and go to school. And like that was the first time I was like, oh, so y'all go to school for this stuff?
Yeah.
Like preachers go to school? And he was like, yeah, of course. And so off to seminary I go. And in those moments, that's where my brain was really wrestling with, okay, so we all, and Christians, of course, we have these sets of beliefs, and these people have these sets of beliefs. Why are there so many different beliefs? Why are there so many different avenues of people calling on God? We're calling on God. Our Jewish friends are calling on Jehovah. Our Muslim friends are all these different walks. And that really just made me dig in and ask other questions like, well, how do I know that this is true?
Yeah.
And it just opened up the door, and that first exposure to learning about the reliability of the Bible, learning about Jesus as an actual human being who lived in an actual city from an actual place, and the events around his life, the events of his death, the most likely conclusion of his resurrection, that was my greatest aha. And that was the epiphany that made me say that this thing called Christianity is not just unique or awesome, but it's different than any other worldview. And being able just to be rooted in something to where it's not just something you do, and it's not similar to what other people do, but it is the best worldview that a person could have. That was a turning point for me.
That's amazing, my friend. So like, how was your relationship with God? How has it shaped like your why now and your purpose in life? Like now that you've gone to school for it and you got your PhDs in it. That's amazing. When you sent me that, like how was it like shaped like your why? Like did a light switch kind of come in your head? Or like to get into ministry? Like did it come right away? Like, oh, I should be a church planner, or I should be a speaker, or like or was it something you kind of like God guided you in?
Yeah. I think it was a little bit of heavy nudging on God's part. I'm sort of reminded like when Paul is talking to Timothy and he tells him to fan the flame, stir up the gift that is within you that I've recognized and the elders have recognized. And he's always kind of nudging him like, and you need to recognize it as well. Some of where I've found myself, I know, has been through the nudge, through the encouragement of other people. And then some of it is where I think the understanding of being called is probably the best understood. And this is Thomas's definition, I believe that you know what you are called to do because what you're called to do calls to you.
Okay, I like that. Yeah.
And meaning that you don't have to be told the thing that you're called to do. Nobody has to say, get up and go do. If I had a passion, a gift, an undeniable calling for feeding people and cooking and things like that, I'm gonna dream about recipes. I'm gonna wake up and wonder, man, what can I do with ramen and peanut butter?
That's a combination.
Exactly. These things those things are they come together almost intuitively, and I believe that's exactly how calling works. And just as an example, working in grocery stores, growing up, working in cotton fields, working in nursing homes, whatever, wherever I was at work, I found myself doing what I was called to do. Some kind of way I'm end up, hey, so have you read Psalm 47? Like, what do you think about that? I'm gonna find a way to have a conversation about God one way or another. That was calling to me, which is what God has called me to do. And that thing I couldn't shake. The other part of it was people affirming. And I think that's another part of what would nudge you. So nudge is here. I mentioned earlier, preachers, pastors saying, man, you need to be doing this. But I think the biggest part was wherever I was, I couldn't get away from doing that. It didn't matter what it was. It spoke to me. And over the course of time, of course, I've been blessed to be assistants to great men of God who helped me to refine what I'm doing and understand a little bit more about what it means to pastor to people, what it means to teach legitimately and authentically, how to open up the Bible and speak to people and understand expositional preaching and teaching, and how to give people not an eisegetic word, but an exegetic word, where I'm sharing what the author meant to that first audience and how it applies to you, as opposed to saying, well, I just feel like it's whatever's on your heart,
Yeah.
Those things came over the course of time. But yeah, man, I think when I put it all together, it was a nice blend of nudge from within and nudge from without.
Yeah. Have you faced any challenges with that? Like feeling like you've been deceived, or like, God, is this the right direction for to go? What have you done it to kind of think about that?
There have been, I've been blessed to be involved in ministry for, now that I think about it, going on 30 years.
God bless. That's amazing.
Yeah, which is really wild. From almost turning that switch as a teen to an adult to where I am now, and there's been a lot of moments where I'm like, yo, what's up? What is up? And some of it in relationships, past relationships. I've had some very, very severely dark moments where it just did not make sense, from church hurt, dealing with a space where everything was growing, everything was blossoming, watching a congregation grow, and then a board of directors pulls the rug from underneath and handed me an envelope that said, you've got 30 days to clear out your office. Your services are no longer wanted. That one was a major,
Oh my gosh,
major hit. And then going through other dark spaces where, my previous marriage ended, and going through that and all of the stuff that comes with it, all of the shame and the guilt and the confusion and the inability to trust, and all of that stuff kind of comes out, and in a context where you don't know where to turn, who to turn to, those have been some of the greatest valleys. But I will say this, I've never been through any darkness, any hurt, any pain, any turmoil where I also didn't find God there. And that's been the turning point. Psalm 23 is never, it never hit like it hit until rock bottom is there. Mm-hmm. Then you understand things like valleys are not destinations. Valleys are simply the route that's being taken to a destination. That even though you don't see what's going on, the shepherd has already gone up ahead of you and prepared. That even when you're in the throes of making fear and making the things you're phobic about and getting caught in the caricature of a shadow, that you got to remember that the substance is the one with the staff. And holding on to him, holding on to his steps, tracing where he moves, following him when it doesn't make sense is the only way you can get to that other side. And those things have been monumental. And even though, I've faced it, I think one of the things that's been significant is that God never wastes a crisis. Never. There's no tear shed that doesn't have purpose. Mm-hmm. No pain that does not ultimately lead to a better version of you. And so God has shown me that, and I'm thankful for every bit of it.
Yeah. One thing we say at our church is you got to get uncomfortable to grow.
Yeah.
And God will use the uncomfortability, the crisis, the situations to grow you. Yeah. Like ultimately, it's something I've seen in my life, I've experienced, and it sounds like you have as well. It's just what has formed you. Has there been? You can talk past or present. How is it balancing ministry versus like your day-to-day life with your wife, your kids?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The balance is. I think the balance is always unique. I'm blessed now. I've God has supplied me with a rib, and I'm thankful for who she is. I'm thankful for the fact we've got this kind of one mantra that we live and die by, that you've got to love God more than you love me, and we'll always be all right if that is the case. And I'm thankful because she has a passion for God that's second to none, and she's also a co-laborer. So much of the balance is almost like, because it's such our life, it's in harmony. We're almost in rhythm with what we do. We're in rhythm with how we grind. We're in rhythm with, dreaming for and thinking about and being passionate about what could be next for God's people and what could be next for the kingdom. Mm-hmm. And that's been tremendous. And that balance has been awesome with her. With my children, I'm in a new phase. I've got some adult children that are trying to figure it out. I've got some little ones that are cross country in light of my situation. So connecting with them and communicating with them has been a little bit of a challenge, but I'm thankful for technology.
Yeah.
Thankful for where they are and how they're growing, and their willingness to continue to be the best that they can be. It's been awesome. But yeah, I think with anything, man, a lot of it is just making sure that you put the right things in the right place and stay consistent. Mm-hmm. If there's anything that I've learned that's kind of that can hurt with regard to the juggling match, is consistency. Got to be consistent.
I believe that consistency is it. I feel like God honors consistency.
Yeah.
One thing we were talking about, we were doing a finance class at our church, and one of the things were you got to show up.
Yep.
And even if it hurts, even in the grind, show up, and God will come through.
Yes, sir.
And it's one of those things that it's been a struggle in my life too, is just being consistent. Because I got all my kids and just trying to juggle them, and just wanting to do the best for everybody. And it's like, well, I can't. No, like figuring out how to do. I think exactly
you're right.
that.
You're absolutely right.
Have you ever had to make a tough decision based on your faith? So was there some that you had to, like, what would God say about this versus, what would what would my flesh say? What would my wife say? Could you speak to that at all?
Yeah. I've had several, man. I think, obviously with relational things that they come up all the time, but I would say even with choosing to step into ministry, I shared earlier that did some work with grocery stores and things like that, and I was at a crossroads in light of a crisis, and I was very much set on saying I'm done. I'm gonna walk away. This is not for me. Maybe God, you got the wrong guy. Mm-hmm. Obviously I'm not suited for it. Blah blah blah. So I was in a real severe funk, and I had chosen to just say, let me just take this job over here, bow out, and walk away. And a good friend of mine called and was asking me, hey, what are you doing? I was living in West Texas, and I said, well, right now I'm going to work, on my way to work. And he was like, oh yeah, and I said, yep, I'm about to get in this program. They are going to give me a store. They're going to train me to do that. And he just kind of stopped and said, man, that ain't nothing but the devil. Mm. I was like, well, if it is, the devil pays pretty good. So I was like, I'm about to take him up.
Yeah.
And he said, Thomas, man, look, what has God called you to do? What has he gifted you to do? What has he been using you to do? You think about all the people you've reached, all the folk you've taught and baptized, and all the people you've discipled, and you're now saying, let me leave that to go over here. Why? Because it's comfortable. Back to that comfort thing.
Yeah.
And you ain't got to worry about fighting through nothing. And he said a few other things, but the one thing that did get me, it was like, you can't take territory for the kingdom without cost. Are you really just going to say, I'm going to forego it because it's going to cost you? And that was a faith crisis for me, because in my mind, I wasn't real sure God still had his hands on me. And so I was like, I'm bowing out in light of that. But you can't make a move of faith and see everything.
Yeah.
So that was one of the greatest moments for me anyway, where it turned. I have not turned back since then. It turned, and every time from that point where I found myself in a spot where I don't know. I kind of go back, I loop back to that. And the same faith it took to step out is what I'm taking to step forward, to step on, to continue taking steps, because that's just the nature of a faith move. So that was definitely one that echoed later on,
Yeah. I've had similar instances that God, I prayed to him. I was like, what do you want me to do? Like, this is coming back. It was a big move 4 years ago that with TechLight, that we weren't sure like what the move was. Like, should I look for a part-time job, especially with the kids? We were trying to figure something out, praying, and a big job came through, and it was ultimately a God move, because there was no other way. It was what kept the door open, because we're like, God, this is your ministry. If you want it to continue, this is what we're presenting to you, and to this day, we continue to honor him. And even with my son going through his health, my older son going through his health issues, there's been times that even my pastors ask me, like, do you want to take a step away for a time? And I'm like, I don't want to, because I want God to honor what I'm doing, and ultimately, like, healing my son. That's how I'm looking at it. Yeah. There is a cost to it, but there's, I know God, and I have faith in God that he's going to do these things.
Amen.
It's ultimately like it's a game changer. And yes, this is about a week to week sometimes.
Yeah.
but I know God is there at the end. He's there at the end of it. And, there's been droughts, I'm sure you've had it too. Like you feel like you're in the desert, like, God, where are you?
Yep.
Like, what's going on? Why? Like, and then he comes through, and I'm excited to see that. Being involved in ministry, it's just one of those exciting things. Like,
I resonate, man. That's where we are right this minute, and in our shift, congregationally, we preached the death and the burial of our former existence, and now we are the Way community, and we're looking for what God is going to do, and to start out small and see the numbers where they are, and to be in a space that's too little for you, and to have these challenges about people that can't even come in. All those things are like, all right, God, we're watching you, we're trusting you. If it's going to be done, it'll necessitate you doing, you making your move. We're going to do our part, but bust a move, God. We're right here with you,
And he will.
I resonate. Yeah, I resonate.
He will, ultimately. So let's see. So do you have like a cool little, not cool little, but it could be cool, I guess. I don't know. Like an inspirational Bible verse, like you kind of like guide you a lot. Like anything come to mind?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of them that come to mind. I think for me, as far as like a marching text, a drumbeat text, it'd be this one right here. For by what a man is overcome, by this he is enslaved.
Okay.
For by what a man is overcome, by this he is enslaved, and it has helped me to kind of build. There's an acronym I live by, that I will not be dominated by anything in this created world because of who my creator is. And because he has power over it, I will not allow it to have power over me. So my stance is to face it. And face it stands for using the word face as an acronym. Focus on what matters the most. Focus on what matters the most. Sometimes the reason why we get overwhelmed is because we're focusing on the wrong thing, not the right thing.
Yeah.
Think about Peter in the storm. You weren't focused on Jesus, you focused on the storm.
Yeah.
But you got to focus on what matters the most at all times. Number two, though, acknowledge how you feel. Just don't stay there. It's all right to say, I feel afraid, I feel angry, I feel like flipping tables. All right. Yeah. Acknowledge how you feel. Just don't stay there, because feelings can be false commentary for your life.
Yeah.
C, create a plan. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? This is where you are. This is what you got. This is what's ahead of you. All right, cool. What are we going to do? What's the plan? When you don't have a plan, all you're doing is saying, let me settle in to the muck that I have. But then the E, you got to execute. It's one thing to face it. Focus on what matters the most. It's one thing to acknowledge how you feel. It's another thing to create the plan. But now, execute. Get it done. Otherwise, for by what is overcoming you, as the text says, for by what a man is overcome, by this he is enslaved. If you don't overcome what is trying to overcome you, you become its slave. I refuse to be a slave.
Amen. Yeah. Wow. Hear that? Face it. Gotta face it.
Face it.
That's amazing. Oh my gosh, man. That's so good. We'll do a last question quick. So you could do in regards to facing it.
Yeah.
What is something that hold on to you, that you, let me word this. How do you keep your faith strong when things get tough? Do you face it?
Yeah.
Like that?
I do, actually. Because, going back to an earlier statement that I mentioned, because I believe that faith in many ways takes a horticultural kind of thing. I know that the seed of what I plant won't be seen immediately when I plant it. And the Bible as well. Faith, we walk by faith and not by sight. Faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things unseen. So since I don't necessarily see it right then, but I'm faithing it, and my faithing it may be me facing it. So even if I don't necessarily say, man, this is right here in front of me. I know God is going to. God, this season is a lot longer than the other one. I still have to practice faith in the season that I'm in. Winter is a season, but it demands faith, just like spring, fall, etc. So what are you faithing while you're facing what you're in right now, you know? And sometimes it's just a matter of planting it, watering it, watching the sun do what it does until breakthrough takes place. And breakthrough, even though that's what I want to see, I got to have enough faith to know the seed is doing what it's doing. It's the unseen thing, the roots, and it goes down before it comes up. So since it has to go down before it comes up, I don't need to trip about what I don't see. I know something's going down that I don't see in order for what I want to see to happen. That's a God move. So that reminder is what keeps me focusing on what's happening. It keeps me saying, even if I'm in them throes, like, man, I don't want to be here. Cool, it's the season that you're in. So what's the plan going to be? Well, work the season according to the season. If it's harvest season, reap. If it's planting season, plant. If it's waiting season, wait. But learn how to practice faith in the season that you're in. And God is going to do what he's going to do. So, yeah, to answer the question, yes, absolutely.
That's awesome, man. So good to have you on the podcast. I am so thrilled that you're here. And do you want to do a quick plug-in for the way?
Listen, I want to encourage anyone who is in the Nassau County area or wherever to plug in to the Way community. You can find us on YouTube. You can find us in the OC where we worship 24 Woods Avenue. Love to have you. You are my guest. You are my guest. So come through, worship. And if you want to be a part of a growing community where your gifts are welcome at the table, please come to the Way.
Awesome. Thank you so much, my friend.
Amen. Thank you, bro. Appreciate it.
Great seeing you. Thank you so much for being on there.
Amen.
Check us out online on the Testify Long Island podcast. Got to be posting more. If you want to be on the podcast, you have a faith-driven story, give us a reach out, and we'd love to talk. Take care, guys.